Hey everybody. How are ya? Happy Wednesday to you. Um, I think we are now live. Of course, all the same stuff whenever I start one of these things. I hope this Wednesday finds you well. Um, I am just kind of losing my mind. So I thought that I would just catch you up to date with what's going on with me. Um, and of course, in the meantime, if you would please let me know that you're here. That would be awesome. Just drop a little comment in there. That would be great. I'm getting used to looking at a different camera while I'm talking to you. So if I look down a little bit, like, forgive me, I'm still learning. Um, so just letting you know that I've kind of lost my mind a little bit lately. The trash pickup is here in case you hear all of that stuff. But I put in an offer on a house this past weekend, and it's a long, complicated story. But it sort of seemed like I don't know. There were a lot of weird things about it, but I really liked this place. It's actually a townhome, and I really liked this place. And when I was in it, I thought, wow, this really makes sense to me, you know. And it was a mess. I mean, it was cosmetically a mess. Needs paint, needs carpet, but the layout is really beautiful. And anyway, just as I was about to make an offer, they pulled it off the market and was like, oh, well, I guess I missed that opportunity. And then one thing led to another, and we inquired as to why they pulled it off the market, and it just turns out that their daughter who lives there just is like just broke up with her boyfriend and she can't move and they can't show it, that she's just a bit of a wreck. So I was like, well, let's make an offer and let's do a late closing. And we did, and they accepted it. And I'm just like, what? So I'm a little bit discombobulated. And if any of you interact with Josie, she can tell you I've like missed appointments and I can't keep things. I mean, I'm just kind of a wreck. I'm so preoccupied with it, but I'm very excited and terrified, anyway, so that's sort of what has been happening with me. It's actually why I was a few minutes late here. I'm trying to get documents ready that I got to take over and blah, 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 all that stuff. But anyway, I'm super, super happy to be here with you, in particular to talk about this topic. I love this topic so much. Um, I I'm using my Sennheiser 416 there, in the hopes that you won't hear the fan on my computer. It's like every time I run my computer now, the fan comes on. So I got to figure out what the snap is going on there. Kind of a drag. But before we get started, I'm just going to see who's here. John, hello. How are you? I'm so happy that you're here. I have a feeling that the people who are going to show up to this one are the word lovers, the lovers of language, right? So yeah, so let's talk about that. Okay, so outdated prosody patterns. I like to pronounce that word prosody. I've heard it pronounced prosody. I'm going to really quickly look up the definition so that I can be super accurate about. Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah. So prosody. Yeah, it's prosody. I like prosody because it sounds like prose, sounds like poetry and prose, but it's pronounced prosody. And it is the pattern of rhythm and sound used in this instance, like in this definition, the patterns of rhythm and sound used in poetry. But I would extend that to be the pattern and rhythm of sound in language, right? And then not just in language, but then as we can tell in advertising and the way that we talk to each other in advertising, there's a whole prosody pattern in the culture of commercials, right? And that is the thing that I feel like we as voice actors are constantly fighting. We are fighting it, right? And you know, it's the thing that we grapple with. It's the thing that we grapple with when we say things like, we want a natural sound. We want it to sound like a real person. We want a millennial read. Like all of those things are about prosody, right? It's about the pattern and the rhythm of the speech, right? So our big issue with that for the vast majority of us is we were raised on commercials. I mean, of a particular age, right? I mean, that obviously makes sense that, you know, if you grew up in a 30 years out, if you were born 30 years after me, you're going to you're going to have a different sense of commercial prosody, right? But so many of us, you know, we grew up on commercials from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, right? And it isn't just that we, you know, it isn't just that we, it's what we learned in our voiceover workshops and with our voiceover coaches. It is what we watched as children. It is ingrained in us what commercials are supposed to sound like, right? Obviously, television didn't come around until the 50s, right? And so, so it makes sense that like everybody watched television in the 60s and 70s and 80s. It's so different now, right? We have, there's so many other avenues to advertising and so many other things that we watch and stuff like that. But that initial advertising is just ingrained in us. I swear to God, it's in our bones. We, you know, our parents sit us in front of the television and we absorb all these commercials, right? And so it's of a particular era. And it is what, if I may be so bold, it is what the vast majority of voiceover coaches right now grew up on. It's in their bones. It's what they teach, right? And it's a piece of, it's like the marker where we gotta like revamp. We have to re-examine. We have to listen again to what is happening now. Because there is a different rhythm, right? There's a different pattern of speech that is being used right now. And so it's kind of up to us VO coaches to up our game, right? And so it is the thing, right? It is the thing that we all grapple with. And when I teach brand imaging, right? Brand imaging is a particular style, and it's a particular pattern, and it's a particular rhythm, and it used to be that it stood out amongst all the other commercial reads. But as time moves on, brand imaging types of reads are becoming pervasive in a lot of different types of commercial reads, even those traditional reads where we're talking about the product and we're talking about the price and we're talking about the sale date, all those typical things that we learn to hit, you know, in commercial voiceover coaching, right? That brand imaging style, which is smaller, closer, more intimate, less musical. It's much more, it's not one note, but it's kind of in just a smaller range of music. It's not like a big wide range of music. It's a smaller range of music. It's starting, it has started. It's already started. It's there. It has already started to invade kind of every commercial read, right? So I'm gonna check in with y'all and see what is happening. If anything, yes. Hello, Jenna. What is this? Oh, I missed that. What? Jenna Sharp is watching. Woo! Fantastic, though. I really, more than anything, what I want to do in this particular Facebook Live is challenge you to get on YouTube, get on iSpot TV, and find commercials, television commercials from the 70s and 80s, and listen to the rhythm of them and find out, like really examine what it is in that style that you're still doing, that your voiceover coaches are still teaching you. And that's the piece we have to modify, like we have to pull away from, right? So finding commercials from the 70s and 80s, I won't go so far back as the 60s, but because it's quite pervasive in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. Things started to kind of change in the early 90s. Frankly, we got a little bit more of a celebrity read going on, which tends to be a little bit more natural sounding, because celebrities just get to be themselves. That's what's expected of them, that they just are themselves, right? And regular old journeyman voice actors, we constantly have this thing of like, well, what's the commercial supposed to sound like? What do they want from me? What do they, right? Which is why I try to, emphasize, I was going to say beat it into you, but was why I try to emphasize like how important it is that you just be yourself, right? So and that really, honest to God, I think that is a celebrity influence. Like I think of Susan Sarandon in the 90s when she did a telephone, I think she did Pacific Bell. I think she did. And she sounded so great. Very natural sounding, not pushed, not anything, not hyped, nothing. It was just her, So anyway, so that's my challenge to you. Get on YouTube, find some commercials from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, and then find some, some commercials from 2022. And see what you hear that's different. And see what you hear that's the same. Make note of the kinds of things that you are being taught by your voiceover coaches. I maintain, again, I am a voiceover coach, and so I give this criticism, and I take it. I take the criticism. I own it, right? Like, we get a little lazy, frankly, because we do things like, we just, how do I say this? It's like we just kind of come into that zone of like, all right, billboard the product, make sure you emphasize the price, like make sure you smile and that you sound happy because you're representing the product. And, the whole smiling thing, that's like, we don't smile in commercials anymore. So I guess really, I'll say it a third time because that's how I am. Go look, go listen. Don't just look and listen, but examine. Listen for the things that you're still being taught today that sound like commercials from the 80s and 90s. Yeah, where we're all smiley and we're super, super emphasizing everything and everything's musical, right? I was laughing with my friend Carrie. We were talking about this because she's a word lover, and so I think I didn't introduce her to the concept of this. She's very aware, but the word prosody, right? I was like, did you know there's a word for that? So I introduced her to the word, and we were talking about it, and then she was talking about another voice actor, kind of from what I would call, our particular heyday, the 90s, right? That was like, oh my God, there was so much work, and it was all union, and it was a crazy time, and we were all working like fiends. And so one of our mutual friends, Cheryl Bernstein, God love her, she started singing like this jingle, chicken of the sea, tuna, right? Like, and I don't know if you remember it, but there was a jingle that was like, what's the best tuna? Chicken of the sea, right? Chicken of the sea, right? So it's like a jingle. And then there's this voiceover comes on, and the voiceover says, it really is the best tuna. And it's like, that's kind of how we're still taught to do commercials. Like emphasize this particular word, like, oh, it really is the best tuna, Whereas I think in 2022, if that were being revamped, the voiceover would kind of be like, it really is the best tuna. Because that's our prosody, right? That's our rhythm, and that's our, it, it's fascinating. So that's your assignment, all right? So the first thing you have to do in order to rid yourself of the read is you have to recognize the read first, right? So again, that's the first step. Going to listen, going to figure out what the read is that's dated, the old prosody pattern and rhythm. And then on the other side of that, listening to what the pattern is of a commercial in 2022 that is distinctly different from what it used to be, right? And so then we have to work on making our read, because what I believe the upshot of that all is that the read is smaller and it's quieter and it isn't as musical. And so we really must get kind of uncomfortable there. I think when I teach people this, I think people feel really uncomfortable with it. It doesn't sit right because it isn't the music and rhythm that they have had in their bones since they were children watching television. So we have to sit and get comfortable with the difference, right? It's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel boring. It's going to feel like you're doing nothing, right? But you are doing something, right? It's just a different rhythm and a different pattern. To kind of more emphasize what prosody is, it is the thing that helps us distinguish an accent, even when we're not using the accent, right? So the French have a particular way of speaking, and there's a particular rhythm, and it isn't just the accent. It's rhythm and pattern. Same with the Italian. It's like, and they sound like caricatures to us, but they are real. If you really listen to people who live in different cultures in other countries, there is a different rhythm to their speech, right? It's very noticeable in East Indian. Even if there's no accent, the words that are emphasized, right? The speed and the pacing, it's different, right? And again, those are all prosody patterns. So when you start to think of it like that, there is advertising prosody. Maybe I'll coin that phrase, because I think that it's true. There is an expectation of what words we're going to emphasize and the kind of rhythm that we use. And so advertising prosody has changed. Yeah. So that's our job, to figure out what rhythm and pattern is alive and well in 2022 that works for this century, this 21st century, and what is still lingering from the past that makes our reads sound dated, right? So that's really it, right? Like, how do we get rid of it? We got to listen for it. We got to listen to what's distinct about 2022, what advertisers are, what they're casting, And I'll say this, it's confusing a little bit in that it depends upon whether it's big brand, national network kinds of stuff, or whether it's a regional campaign, regional spot, or local. Because regional and local are going to be further behind the curve when it comes to the change, right? So 20 years from now, local and regional are going to be doing what was happening in 2010 and 2020, right? But our desire here is to be aware of it all, because it isn't so much that you want to lose it all and get rid of it all. you want to know when to use it and when not to use it. You want to have control over that. Everything is a tool, right? And so we just have to know, do I need a flathead or do I need a Phillips? Right? And we have to be able to look at the copy, see what's going on, right? And know which tool to pull out of our tool bag. So again, it's never to like erase, right? But you cannot use an outdated prosody pattern for a national network campaign that requires a 2022 prosody pattern. So I'm just going to leave it there. Thank you so much for being here. And if you're coming to this after the fact, please, again, feel free to comment, ask any questions, find me wherever you will. I will be very glad to hear from you. So ask questions, do what you will. I am at your service. Okay, and have a great rest of your day, great rest of your Wednesday, and a great rest of your week. All right, I will talk to you soon since I see no questions at the moment, so I'm going to end. So I will see you next week. Wish me luck on my house.